There we go. I think that's a good sign. That means that we are getting started. Um, I want to thank everybody who I see kind of tuning in. My name is Imelda Rivetta Laxton, and I'm the curator of contemporary art and community projects here at the New Bedford Whaling Museum. And today on our art talks, this is our second time hosting an artist to talk about their work and career. And we will be having these throughout the year. Today we invited artist Susan Heideman, who has her wonderful exhibition. It just opened May 29th called Proteana here at the Whaling Museum. Susan's going to tell us a little bit about herself, and then we're going to talk about kind of life and career, Susan, and then the what inspired you to make Proteana, and then your process, because I think the process and the materials are part of the story and are very interesting. And at the end of the kind of our chat here, I'm gonna see if anyone has any questions, and if not, I have a couple burning questions I might ask of you that you may not have answered. But Susan, thank you for joining us, and go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm delighted to be here. And I started drawing when I was a child, and I never stopped. So I
Yeah.
I always knew that I wanted to be an artist, although there was a lot of encouragement through my schooling that I was a good writer and maybe I should be a writer. And I thought, I thought. I actually thought about that and I felt that writing was too specific and that being an artist would give me much more leeway of lots of kinds and
Sure.
a lot more freedom uh, to invent and experiment. My parents were disappointed about that. They thought, what are you going to do as an artist?
Right.
Although I should have told them, it's not so great being a writer either,
Right.
But but so I did go to Boston University School of Fine Arts, which was a BFA program, very rigorous. And then I went to Indiana University, which at that time was a figuratively oriented school, as was BU. Um, and they gave me basically a free ride, which was great. Um, and that was a wonderful experience. Bloomington, Indiana, which is a little paradise in an otherwise difficult state.
Right.
And then I knew I wanted to come right back to Boston. And I did get a job right away. Well, not right away, about a year later in Boston. I got a job as a sabbatical replacement in University of Rhode Island, and that was supposed to be one semester, and they liked me a lot, and so they gave me another semester, and then there was no more space for me. um, and so I went on unemployment for a while, and I was sending out things to schools, art schools, and art colleges. And and I had applied for a position at where was it? It was at Amherst College,
Hmm.
and they sent me a very surprising note back, which said, "We filled that position, but we know that there is a position at Smith College." Uh, later I found out that one of the reasons for that was that someone who had been a professor of mine at BU was at Amherst and thought very highly of me. So I think he nudged them, which was very lucky for me.
Great. Yeah.
And anyway, in any case, I didn't think I wanted the Smith job. I wanted to stay in Boston, but I didn't have any other offers.
Yeah. Right.
And I had a complete misapprehension about what Smith would be, that it was all women finishing school. Totally not that, but
Yeah.
I thought, all right, begrudgingly, I'll see what happens. I'll go for
Yeah.
a year. And of course, I loved it. The students were magnificent. They were smart. We had a big art department. There were the majors at that time were one of the largest majors on campus, along with the English department. And it was a wonderful gig for 36
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Great.
I went in early and I went out early. That is,
Yeah.
I was what, 26 when I started, and I left after 36 years.
Okay. Yeah. Still time. The did you and you maintained you had your own studio that you had during that time?
I had my studio in Boston, yeah.
Yeah.
So I spent 3 to 4 days at Smith, and then I would come back to Boston
Yeah.
and go
Great.
right into the studio, basically. I didn't see a lot of my friends much.
I said it's quite a schedule.
Yeah. And they were the art department was reluctant about that. Um, but I made clear that I would be there however much I needed to be there. That I
Right.
was I was not going to miss meetings or important things,
Right.
and it didn't
Right.
work out.
I think it's a testament to your how much you loved teaching, how much you loved the students and your time there that you had a schedule like that. Um,
Yeah, they were so wonderful. I mean, some of them have become very well-known artists, and some haven't. But uh, I would say maybe 7 or 8 or even 9 of them have become very close friends of mine
oh, okay.
throughout my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Nice.
that's been really wonderful because I didn't have kids. I didn't want kids, but I love these former students,
Right.
great human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what would you say then during your time teaching and while you were helping other artists to grow and you yourself were kind of changing or growing as an artist? What do you think you gravitated? What types of art did you gravitate towards kind of in the beginning of your career? And
Yeah, well, because both BU and then Indiana University were programs that were very figuratively oriented, um, I I started out working from working through representation, but it was always nature. I I was very interested in rainforests, partly because I knew that Gauguin had gone to Martinique, one of the Caribbean
right.
islands, and had done all of those tropical looking paintings. I wasn't interested in figurative in terms of human beings, but
Right.
nature. So
Nature.
I made several trips with a friend, an artist friend, to the Caribbean and was very inspired by the rainforests as I knew I would be or thought I would be.
Yeah.
So they were big paintings that were fairly realistic. Um, and eventually, uh, I felt that I'd done as much as I could with those paintings. They were several years worth of
Uh,
work.
yeah.
And I showed a lot with those paintings. And then I began moving toward um, tidal pools. A very
Oh,
close friend of
yeah.
mine who spent summers in Maine, um, someone I'd gone to school with at BU, had told me that, and we knew each other's work intimately, told me that I had to come see these tide pools in the intertidal area close to where she and her husband lived in the summer. And they were wonderful. They were really
Yeah.
interesting. And so that became my subject. And they were a little bit more abstract, but not terribly abstract. Uh, and after a couple of years, my husband, who was a science writer, had an opportunity to do a gig at National Geographic that involved going to Australia and several other countries. And they were very generous with their R&R. And so he was going to have it a week for me to visit and go off work. Um, and at the time, one of the places he was going was Indonesia. And I thought, oh, well, maybe we could go to Bali,
Yeah.
see tidal pools and jungle
Yeah.
and
Sure.
all
Yeah.
kinds
Yeah.
of things. And he said, no, that's not going to work in the timing. I would need to meet you in Australia. Um, and I thought for a minute and I said, oh, well, the Great Barrier Reef is
Yeah.
sort of a big tidal
Yeah.
pool. Um, and that was it. I snorkeled for the first time way out in the reef. I went back three more times thanks to the generous research projects that Smith sponsored.
Right. Yeah.
And I just fell in love with what I saw underwater. Not the fish so much, but the invertebrates. Um,
Yeah.
they were crazy looking, they were scary, they were gorgeous, they were funny. And it was a time in which I was also really leaving representation and wanting to become more abstract in my work. So that was the beginning of an enormous change. The first few paintings I made from those trips were quite literal, and I didn't like them at all. And so I realized that in my trips in the water, rather than taking photographs, they were very, very simple photographs, underwater photographs. I would just snorkel and look and then come back and make little scribbly drawings of what I had seen. And that
Right.
really made it easy to sort of l- reflect those forms in my work, but also to invent because
Right.
I was remembering as opposed to having photographs. That was a huge, huge change in my work. So, at the same time that I was making these paintings from the underwater creatures. I had also always done works on paper, watercolor, and I um, the series of works that are in the museum right now reflect an an experiment to stitch on remnants of my monotypes
Right.
that were torn up, which I tore up because I didn't like them. In fact, I tore them all up, started to throw them out, looked at one of the ragged pieces that was representational, but the pieces were in pieces, so you couldn't understand what they were, and thought,
Right.
wow, I wonder if I could sew that onto a piece of watercolor paper. And that was the beginning. Whoops, what happened? I think I.
Oh, it's just me. I'm gonna
Oh,
while
it's
you're
you.
I
Okay,
so I feel
great.
like this is a perfect time to kind of bring up
Oh, yeah, sure.
some of the see, I'm gonna try and see
Yes,
if I
so these were some of the funny, strange paintings.
Strange. I gotta say, I love your titles. And Mr. Hurry Up,
Yes.
before you move on to talking more about the wonderful stitching and just like I love that
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
you went, I wanted to know a little bit about who Mr. Hurry Up was.
Well, it was sort of a crab, sort of a hermit crab sort of thing. Um, but then it was it was very imagined. It was
Yeah.
and it looked like those rotating legs
Right.
were in
Yeah.
quite a hurry with the head down and moving right out of the little painting.
Right. Oh, wonderful. Right. So I wanted to, before you moved into kind of talking about the stitching, I wanted to just show an example for folks at home of what this kind of these creatures and these original kind of oil paintings that you were doing look like. And I
Yeah,
feel
I'm
like
so glad. Sorry?
uh, even though that one's a little small, I feel like you've worked big for
Yeah,
a lot of
I
your
I have.
career.
I have worked very big.
Very, I feel like it really helps to like send people there to feel like they're
Mm,
inside the painting because they are so large.
mm.
Um, um, uh, I moved to this only because you started talking about before this isn't just stitching two things together, but this looks like this is just thread on watercolor, right?
Right. And this was sort of the beginning in that that is the beginning of the Proteana series. It's sort of a pre-Proteana. It was a watercolor that was inspired by the things that I'd seen. But again, very, very imaginative.
Right.
And I had never been happy with it. Um, what I don't think I've ever told you is that I had had a collaboration with a poet at Smith, um,
Mm.
and we had gone to Amsterdam in order to see a colleague's exhibition of millennial reliquaries.
Mm.
And I also, reliquaries are something I really love. Being a nice Jewish girl, I can see them not as religious objects, but as something that's really fascinating. Um, and I came back and we had decided that we were going to make a project out of it. She was going to write poems about them, and I was going to paint about them. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I had this idea that I would make small paintings, 11 by 14, um, inspired by the reliquaries, not at
Mm.
all literal. And then I would put a plastic sheet, a transparent plastic sheet, over the painting and stitch on the plastic. And it became a book, actually. Smith helped make that happen. And I thought it was a complete one-off. I had no idea
Mm.
how I had gotten that idea. Actually, that's not quite true. Some of the reliquaries had covers that were knitted or crocheted over them by nuns, and I thought
Mhm.
about a lot of parchment that was involved in some of the reliquaries. And so sewing really occurred to me as something that was going to be interesting. I had never I had never sewn in my work. I embroidered as a child, stopped, and then in brief hippie years had embroidered on clothing.
Right, yes.
But that was it. That was it. So I was very surprised that I had somehow come up with that odd, odd creature of a thing. Um, and I really thought I would never sew again. But here, this watercolor, suddenly I was sewing again. And that led to this idea of maybe these scraps of torn monotypes could be involved in, yes, in artworks. And so these were the very earliest ones.
Yes, I wanted to show kind of that I did love that we were able to include fertilization
Yeah,
in the story and kind of as the beginning, right?
yeah,
And that you could see through the years just the different forms and then even the different kinds of stitching that you did and that you've done. And uh, yeah, so these were the first two, huh?
yep, yep.
Great. And this is the beginning. These are different pieces. So these are other watercolors that you discarded, decided needed a new life, and
Yeah, monotypes actually. They were
monotype. There
monotypes.
you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. And watercolors, both, actually. Yeah.
Um, uh, Very nice. And did you have kind of they're so organic, like in
Yeah,
every way possible, right?
yeah.
So I don't know if you had sort of a te like an idea in mind or some or a drawing in mind, or if you just kind of the stitching happened in a sort of organic way. Um,
It was completely improvisational.
okay, great. Yeah.
I would do one thing and then that would make me think to do another thing. And that just kept going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's great. I feel like and I'm sure this happened, these have been on exhibit before. I don't know if in their entirety. I don't know if the whole run that you've had over these years. But you know, so far in our space, it's been really interesting to see what people see and how it
Yes,
just changes. It's completely different from person to person about what kind of forms they see. And it's just really fun and engaging.
that's wonderful to hear.
Um, the It's so I love showing these. I love that. I remember when you the first time you showed me this in your studio, and uh it's just so hard to capture how big they are, and how and how that is just the they have a presence, right?
Yeah,
And so the presence of them together, but it's nice to show them. And so if you could just, you can tell us how big they are
Yeah.
and
These I think are maybe 74, 75 inches tall, the paper, and then anywhere from 48 inches wide to sometimes they would go off the paper. So it would be more like 50 or 52 inches wide.
yeah, yeah.
And
Um,
uh, it's very hard to see, but I had two rules, and one was that whatever I put on the paper, I stitched. Um,
mm,
and I could have gotten a roll of watercolor paper rather than using pieces, but I liked the idea of suturing three pieces together to get
yeah.
the uh, verticality. And I think again that was because I I'm not sure. I think that I'm not sure why I felt I needed to do that, but I really liked the effect, and so I kept doing that for the very big ones.
Um, and do you remember then the where all the other paintings, the other works that make up this new one, are they kind of like titles and pieces that you remember, and or uh, they just all kind of live together and kind of ready for new use once they were torn up and shaped into different forms?
Oh, in terms of the monotypes themselves, or yeah, well, that's actually an interesting problem because I've run out of, I've
It's
largely
fine.
run out of a lot of the monotypes that I tore up. And so the later ones also include uh, watercolor, that watercolor sheets that I paint on and just solid colors
Mhm.
and then tear up to use. Um, and so some of the later ones, I think you'll see that. This, of course,
Mm.
is a detail of one of the
Yes.
big ones. Yeah.
Mhm.
But even on these, there was also in all of them a lot of watercolor and a lot of gouache. So all of this is watercolor. So as well as the sewing. And what I really enjoyed about working on the paper is that there was no way to make a mistake because if I didn't like it, it left these perforations, which I really liked. And
Yes,
so
interesting.
I would
Okay.
sometimes sew something down and then feel, no, it's not right. And I would take it apart and I'd have these lovely little perforations.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, they're evidence of the change, right? Of the, I
Yeah,
mean, theme of transformation that's
yeah,
uh, in your work. That's great.
yeah.
Because you can see, and if you're an organization or if you're somebody who's exhibiting them, and all of a sudden you're like, is there something missing? Or has that always just been perforations from Kenny?
Yeah. This is an
Uh,
example of a piece that I think was mostly watercolor
mm,
compared to
um,
these monotype pieces.
I kind of wanted to show these as well because you started doing something really interesting, and using another type of material, and I wanted you to tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, this one was a bit insane, but I but I had this idea that I would use some Yupo, which is a plastic, they call it a plastic paper.
Okay. Mm.
And it comes in translucent and transparent forms. And I was using the translucent. I had this idea that I would back the watercolor paper with this. Well, this is what is behind it.
The silver.
This Yupo
Yeah. Hmm.
material. Yeah. And I did that because I had this idea of carving out these pieces so that just the Yupo showed and then painting. I got really involved with the silver paint,
Mm,
silver
hmm.
gouache. And so um, this one is definitely both Yupo. I sewed the Yupo and the watercolor paper together, and it's heavy. Big
Yeah, no, it is.
two
It's
layers
heavier
on
than
it.
um and I think in this one, although you can't, unfortunately, I don't know how well you can see it in these pictures, but I feel like you started using you had some colored thread, but some silver thread or some silver, some other kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. I
Yeah.
started using metallic thread, quite a bit of
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And this is an example of a piece of watercolor paper that I just painted this color because I didn't have a monotype that worked for it. So
um,
pre-painted and then stitched and um, did did things to it.
yeah. Um, the uh and the colors, I don't know if you had very much green in some of the other things, but
No, I didn't.
uh
And I'm
yeah.
not sure. I can't tell you how it cropped up, but
Yeah. But it's
I
it is.
think because these areas were monotypes that I obviously tore up deliberately to make these
Mhm.
shapes. And then because there was a lot of green in those, I guess I just went with the green in the rest of it.
Yeah. Um uh you talk a little bit about improvisation
Yeah.
and making especially these works. Is that also the same in kind of the not just in the other embroidery, but in the shapes that you make, in the
Yeah.
form you make?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in many of these, I have a very, very vague idea of what I want to do. But as soon as I start putting putting little scraps of paper down, um, they change, they mutate.
Hmm. They mutate. Yes. Um, I like that. I'm gonna go back a little bit so you can
Hmm.
point out some of the forms in here. And I think you've talked in other interviews a little bit about kind of not just invertebrates, but like microorganisms and microscopic kind of images. And I
Yes,
feel
very much
like,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you could
So
talk a little bit about
the
that.
the imagery really opened up in terms of all kinds of organic forms, including uh, zoology, botany, even meteorology, um, besides the marine science. Um, so, yes, like these are sort of molecular looking, used
Yeah.
these
Um, the
watery, obviously watery forms for sure.
and you've kind of always had an interest in this.
Yeah, the oil paintings that I'm making now. I'm also sewing into. Um,
Hmm.
so that is very labor intensive, but all of this is very labor intensive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess something that, I'm sure everyone, this is something that people ask artists a lot, but I mean, is that they want to know about the time, right? Like how long
Mm.
did it take you to do something like this?
Um, I'm I am sadly monomaniacal in my work. That is, once I start something, I can't do more than one thing at a time. I
Yeah,
wish I could, but I can't. So, months,
months. Yeah, I
months.
mean,
In the larger ones, maybe several months. I'm working on one now, which is, I think it's 77 inches tall, and it's taking a very, very long time.
yeah, yes. Uh, the there's something, and I wish I had actually included a picture of it here. What I think is also interesting, again, threading through, I think paper and other maybe like some of the canvases, some of the other things that you thread through is difficult, like is hard, like I feel like dexterity and hurts your hands, I'm sure, after a while. And but I loved seeing the back of all of these paintings because I feel like that is its own kind of record, right? Its own
Yeah,
world that
sometimes I really love the back so much that I wish I could just have them hang in such a way that people could go behind them and not just in front of them.
I know. I know. It's because it really is nice to see. Uh, I feel like the embroidery, like with anything, like with a quilt or anything that has kind of a backside, and to see the mirror image and then how sometimes it just looks different than you think it would, or how it like
Yeah,
yeah presents.
yeah, definitely.
Uh, yeah, which is good. Um, the um, in the exhibit, we paired some of uh, your work with these books that we have in our collection that are, renderings, natural history illustrations of invertebrates over time from the 1850s, from the early 1900s. And one are these kind of early microscopic views of cells of
Oh,
microorganisms. And it's just so interesting when we saw your work and just how they kind of mirror each other, right? And you can see something that's real, and then maybe even, like you said, the imaginative part, like that slightly imagined, because you're not taking photography, right? This is all from memory. This is all maybe from a different way of seeing. Um, so yeah,
yeah. And I love all of those archaic uh forms. That
right,
are I really like. I like all of that. I like um, books of diagrams or paintings of plants over the
right,
years. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really nice to see that that kind of uh, continuation of illustrating those forms. And do you have a favorite, Susan? One of these in the entire series, maybe, or even an earlier work that you feel like is a child.
Um, well, I I like them all. I think the what we're calling the triptych, the
hmm
three large ones that were shown, I never were meant to be a triptych. But when I had a show at the Framingham Museum, the
Mm,
Danforth.
mhm, mhm.
Um, I had recently finished those three, and the curator, Catherine French, thought the three really looked very, very good together, that they really worked as one whole piece. And that was a great surprise to me and a wonderful surprise. I mean, they really did work as a triptych. So in that sense, those are favorites because I
Mm.
haven't done anything like that again. Um, but and I think artists always say the thing that they're working on is the thing that they are
Yeah.
most excited about. But the other thing is that because these things are so big, and when framed are monsters, as your staff discovered in terms of their weight,
Yeah.
um, they're not very practical. So what I really like is to get rid of them by, by selling them or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Like I said, they're a presence.
yeah.
Um, the uh, you talked a little bit about what you're working on now, which is similar, but maybe embroidered. Is it embroidered oil paintings? Is that
No, this one is
no?
also a Proteana.
Oh, okay.
Um, and but I just had a show in the fall at the Laconia Gallery in the SoWa neighborhood of Boston. And I had mostly oil paintings that were sewn on. And then a few, I think there were, it was the triptych of the Proteana was there, and one other sewn piece that was quite large, but not framed.
Mm.
Um, and as soon as I finished the current Proteana, I think it's number 19 now. Um, I'm going to go back to oil painting because I really love oil painting. I just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, right. The before I ask folks to, and people now, if you have a question, you can type it in the kind of the chat box, and I can see that, or you can raise your hand. But one question, and it's you explain it. It's in the text, and if you come see the exhibit, and we have it around. But a lot of people want to know where the name came from and your
Proteana,
inspiration. Yes,
yeah,
and I think just sharing with people right now about the name would be great.
yes, yes. Well, it was once I had done three of them, I liked doing them, and so I knew I wanted it to be a series, although I didn't know how long I would continue with the series. And I didn't want to name, I didn't want to title each one. And I thought about my work and what I'm interested in these days, all the things that I've discussed of my current interests in imagery. And I thought of the word protean, which is sort of a shift shaping idea, um, things that are mutable. And so I decided to make up this word, which is proteana.
And yeah, I think it describes it pretty perfectly. Um, um, uh, the you had I just want to point out that at one point you did also have a show with these where it was collaboration. The show itself was two, and it was you and was it
Michelle
um,
Luigi,
Michelle
yes,
Luigi? Yes,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
And yeah, that was a wonderful show because she had been working in sea inspired things, but very, very imaginative. And the combination of them and these works on paper just went perfectly. People were really fascinated by them.
Yeah. Yeah. The sculptures, yeah, same idea. I feel like those shapes, both in her work and in your work,
Yeah.
mirrored each other. Good. Uh, I don't think we do have any questions, and I just it's been so interesting to learn, I think, about kind of your relationship with the sea, with water, with and how it over time it's happened because you're originally from Michigan, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Detroit, um,
Detroit.
and surrounded by the Great Lakes.
And you
And
did have water there, yeah.
that's right. And we loved that. My family would go to the upper part of the lower peninsula, which is very, very beautiful, Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
And as a child, that was an ocean to me. I mean,
Sure.
yes. So yeah, I've always loved water.
Yeah. Have that connection. I let's see. Uh, there is one question. Someone would like to know what was your art college experience like?
Oh, well, the program at the School of Fine Arts at BU was strict. It it involved at that time, it's changed quite a bit, but it involved very rigorous emphasis on drawing, representational drawing. All of the faculty were male, um, which was annoying. There was actually one woman teaching sculpture for 1 year, um, and she was great. And I have nothing against men, but I do feel uh,
Yeah.
that an organization should have all kinds of people in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so it was strict. And I was, I had always loved to draw. That was the beginning of my artwork. So I didn't mind that I was getting this rigorous sort of program, which involved also taking anatomy, had to take anatomy for artists. Um, a whole course on perspective. That was actually the one woman who taught it, quite an elderly woman who made lots of blackboard diagrams throughout and tested us on them
Yeah.
as the anatomy class did. So it annoyed me, but there were some wonderful teachers, albeit strict. I mean, it was the program, so they went with the program. Um, but when I graduated, I knew that I wanted to go to a graduate program that was much freer. And that was very true of Indiana University.
Um, what were the demographics there?
Uh, there were more men, but there were women.
Mm. Uh, we have someone raise their hand, Barbara, sorry. And okay, Barbara, if you wanted to ask, I think you can. I think, let's see. You are muted right now, but
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi. So I hope the artist will forgive this question, but I'm always interested in process. So when
Mm.
you're working on a proteana project, um, do you have, you say you've torn up other paintings that are going to become a part of this.
Yeah.
So do you say to yourself, okay, I need a green here, and then look through the pile for a green, or is it freer than that?
Well, that's a very good question. That's changed over the years. Those first ones, I just had sort of blobs of pieces of the monotypes, which are on paper. And they were not ident because they were part of bigger images. They were not intelligible as figurative, and I would just plop one on the paper, start sewing around it and on it, and then adding sewing imagery and other things. So those were almost random pieces of monotypes. As I kept working on these things and as they grew, I was much more deliberate about how and what I was tearing up. So they were no longer just random pieces that I picked up from a pile of raggedly torn pieces. Um, and now they're very particular, I would have to say. There's no longer so much randomness. So randomness comes in the sewing and the watercolor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Sure.
We have a couple more. We have something from Fraser Stables says inspiring conversation. Uh, Thank you. Susan, in that you described working on one piece at a time, can you speak to how you organize your studio? For instance,
Ah,
do you have reference images or past works nearby? A very in the, I feel like this might be another artist.
yeah, definitely. Fraser, it's wonderful to be in touch with you this way. Yes. So half my studio is really all about oil paint and oils and stretchers and everything that goes with it. And the other half is I have a big 48 inch by I think it's a 72-inch table, um, steel table. And that is for all of the works on paper work. But I have lots of bookshelves in the studio, and not only monographs of artists, but all kinds of things, including um, botany, biology, microscopy, zoology. Oh, I already said that. And those I have around me on another table nearby all the time when I'm making the works on paper.
Good. I love when there's questions that are very specific to a place. And our kind of, and thank you, Fraser. I think our final inquiry is interesting. It says, "Hi, Susan. Sam Bowser here.
Oh,
I was wondering if you would be interested in an immersive experience with a biologist. Nothing dangerous or rigorous, just a look-see in a swamp or estuary."
I would love that, especially if Sam is part of it.
Oh, wonderful. I know. Yeah, you did talk about some time spent out in the wilds or basically doing your own research. And have you had any experiences like that recently, where you kind
No,
of
I mean, one of the wonderful things on Heron Island, which was the island in the Great Barrier Reef that I kept going back to, um, was that at that time there was a research center. There's still a research center, but at that time um, guests on the island could look at all of the books in the research center, and we could watch them working on the reef when they were doing projects. And that was a wonderful experience. Later, I think the third time that I went back, they no longer allowed tourists to do that, at least not in the library. Um,
Hmm.
and of course, I tramped around in the rainforests on several islands in the Caribbean, which was pretty great.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you might have an opportunity to get closer to home, an estuary or
Yeah,
swamp here
yeah.
in Massachusetts. It would be interesting to see what comes of that as well. Thank you, Sam. We have one time for one more question, and we have someone who's just raised their hand, and that is Nancy Woods. So, Nancy, I'm going to allow you to talk so you can ask your question.
Hi, Susan. It's Nancy. It's so nice to see you
It's
in person.
great.
Have any of those researchers that you just talked about, have they seen any of the work that you've done?
Uh, yes. Uh, the exhibition that I had in the fall, which Barbara Ferris, who was just talking with me, um, knows all about. I put together a panel of scientists who came to the exhibition. They were all scientists who were really interested in art, and each of them spoke about their specialty, and uh, and they were very enthusiastic about the artwork. It was a really wonderful panel discussion. We do have we have a recording of it, but I started to send them out to people, and I found that there was a flaw, and it has to be corrected before I send them out. Because one of the scientists was somehow not in not in the recording. So we'll fix that, and then I can get that out. But yeah, that was a great experience. And in fact, one of the scientists who works at Harvard said that I should get in touch with the Natural History Museum at Harvard, and suggest that maybe I could do something with them. And I've done that. I haven't really heard back yet. But yeah.
Exciting. I look forward to that. Um, Thank you, Nancy. Um, I think we are right at time, but I appreciate thank you for all the thoughtful questions um uh and I'm glad, Susan, that you have I feel like you have a whole bunch of wonderful supporters and and fans and patrons who will have the opportunity to see your show through the summer. It will be up through November 2nd. Um, we'll see if there might be another opportunity for us to have a program with you or something of that nature. But I want to thank you for your time. It's been wonderful to learn more about the process. And again, this has been recorded, and so this program will be on our website where we have our other Zoom programs. And Thank you all for attending. And Susan, I look forward to hearing all the wonderful commentary and engagement and thoughts that come out of all the visitors that see your show.
Thank you so much, Imelda. It's been a pleasure.
Problem. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.